Hello. Welcome to my botched setup. Hello. Keep on joining. Guys, I am slightly late. How's it going? Welcome to the Crystal Palace Transfer Show. If you're watching this live, don't forget to like the live stream as you are watching. And if you're watching this in the future on record, let me know what you thought about all the latest transfer news. Don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to comment. Benteke is a go. Is straight in with a comment. Got to bring Diomande in. The bloke is a whole different level to any other centre backs we have been linked with. That is true. I will be talking more about that in the show today. So let's get cracking. I'm not going to go too into anything else at the moment. I'm going to jump straight into the transfer news. There has been so much transfer news at this current time. I'm also going to be live on TikTok, Sleeper Crystal Palace. So yeah, let's dive straight in. Just getting live going, just letting people join the live. I'm also live on TikTok, as I said, Sleeper Crystal Palace. And yeah, I'm mainly just doing this live because I've just come back from a holiday, guys. I've been away. I couldn't do a pre-recorded video, so I thought I'll just get it live, be able to talk to some people as well as just doing my typical type of video. If you are here, let me know in the comments as well. Hello to everyone on TikTok as well. If you're here, don't forget to like the live stream. Right. How do we start this? We start this video with some breaking news this morning from Alan Nixon from The Sun. I do not know whether to believe it. It's annoying if it's true. I'm going to be honest. It's annoying if this latest breaking news is true. I'm not too happy with it. Just for those on YouTube, I will be sharing my screen so I can show you the news as well. Right. There we go, YouTube. So, the latest breaking news. Crystal Palace have made an inquiry for Lens midfielder Dynamo Andy Diouf as they wait for bids to take their stars. Palace are on red alert for clubs coming in for Adam Wharton. So the new news is Palace are now on red alert for clubs coming in for Adam Wharton. Lens would look for 20 million plus for Diouf. Now we've been linked to Diouf for ages, haven't we? Clubs in for Adam Wharton. So this week we've had fresh links to Marc Guehi, which we'll dive into. We've had fresh links to Eze, which we'll dive into. But first, we are already having more links to Adam Wharton now. Do I believe this one's going to happen? Thanks to everyone on TikTok as well. Please do not forget to like the live. And yes, I can talk about some Europa League stuff in a little bit as well. Let's just talk about this latest transfer news. As I said, Andy Diouf is linked to Palace yet again from FC Basel, and we want Adam Wharton to. That's not right. Andy Diouf is linked to Basel, and we are on red alert that clubs want to sign Adam Wharton. Now, I think it's slightly too early for Adam Wharton to leave. I really do. I think Adam Wharton is someone who was injured for most of last season until September, October. So, that's a good 4 or 5 months he had missing. And I think that's a risk for any big club to take right now because I think he still has a little bit of learning. He is different gravy, but he still has a lot to learn. And he's not going to learn a lot if he has to sit on the bench for a quarter or half of the games next season. He needs that extra season at Crystal Palace, and Crystal Palace really shouldn't be selling. Like, we should not be selling right now. That would be crazy to do. I really think that sometimes with the Sun, with Alan Nixon, who reports a lot, he's not always reliable, not really reliable. El Hadjouf links have died out a little bit, mate. They have died out. We got to remember he's also going to AFCON this summer. Not this summer, in 2025, December to January. So maybe that's the reason why the El Hadjouf links have died. If you are listening on YouTube, I'm also live on TikTok. So I'm getting a lot of comments coming through. So it's going to be a really good kind of Q&A chat show, as well as bringing you all the latest transfer news. Now, let me get, for those on YouTube, as I said, Luke Talks Palace, let me get some stats up on Andy Diouf. As always, we want to get a little bit of analysis too. You got a great collection. Cheers, mate. Cheers, mate. That's not even the pinnacle of some of the shirts I have. I have some Crystal Palace match worn beauties. One from this man here, Eze. So that's brilliant news. We will be talking about Marc Guehi soon, H. Dixon as well. And cheers for those who have joined in on YouTube as well. Benteke is a goat. Cheers for your comment. Don't forget to like the live, everyone. If you're on YouTube, if you're on TikTok, please don't forget to like the live. It really, really helps. Right, now, I use FBREF for my stats, and they're really, really interesting, to be honest. They're really, really interesting. For Andy Diouf, they look very, very decent. I will also be bringing news on Diomande in a little bit, H. Do not worry. I'll bring the latest. I'm not like someone who knows the latest. I'm not an ITK. I just want to bring that up. I'll just bring you what I have heard and what I know, and I'll tell you how true I think it is, like this Andy Diouf news. So, as you can see, guys, on YouTube, there is a lot of green in terms of his stats. He is in the high percentile for a lot, and something I really want to point out is he is in the high percentile for progressive carries and successful take-ons. He does 3.32 progressive carries per 90, and he does 1.74 progressive carries, successful take-ons per 90. And he also does 3.8 progressive passes per 90. This puts him really high in the percentile. Basically, this means when you're talking about all the players in the top leagues in Europe, Andy Diouf is high up there for it per 90, which is really, really, really good to see. This shows exactly what Crystal Palace need, and you can kind of see why, if Wharton were to leave, Andy Diouf seems like the player we'd like in. What do we all love about Adam Wharton, guys? What do we love? We love the fact that he's so quick on the ball in terms of progressive passing. We love that he can run forward with it. We know he's always looking for that next pass. And for me, these stats here for Andy Diouf look like they are very, very similar to that style of Adam Wharton. You know what I mean? So that's really, really good to see. Also high for shot created actions, which would be different. That's something that Adam Wharton doesn't really have. So that'd be really good to see. But of course, Adam Wharton is Adam Wharton. But this just shows that Palace do have good targets for our top players to leave, which is really good. And that will kind of lead me into the next bit of transfer news because, you know, there is so much Crystal Palace news. That's why I needed to do a live. Eze update I will bring next for you guys. Eze update, I'm getting asked a bit on the Eze update, so I will bring that for you next. It's an interesting one. Eze one is interesting. Right. Now, this has frustrated a lot. I got a lot of Spurs fans on my TikTok yesterday coming to this content that I brought, the video I brought yesterday. Diomande and Guehi update will be after this Eze update, guys. So be sure to like the live as well if you're still here. Right. Crystal Palace would be willing to accept 3 installments of approximately 20 mil for rumoured Tottenham target Ebereich Eze. They are no longer holding out for the majority of his reported 68 mil release clause. Now, for me, that is insane if that is true. And the guy reported it, Paul O'Keefe. I know there's been a lot of people saying he's good, he's bad. When it comes to Spurs news, guys, he is pretty decent. I will not lie to you there. So this does worry me. This is why I kind of wanted to talk about it today. It really does worry me a little bit. Palace willing to accept 3 installments of approximately 20 mil. Why? Look, I've been getting a lot of comments from some people when I've been talking about this on my Twitter, Luke_Seychelles, if you do want to follow. Why that lots of clubs do installments? Yes, transfer fees are mainly done in installments these days. However, they're not done in like 30% installments. You normally have to pay at least over half. So I don't really like that. I don't really like that we're apparently going to do 3 installments at 20 mil, especially for our star player. I would maybe get it for someone who you feel like, you know, at the moment is really easy to replace. Eze is not easy to replace. It's really not what I want to see, to be honest. He's a star player. You saw him towards the end of last season, February to the end of the season. He was ridiculous. You can't replace all his skill sets in one player. So with Eze, you need someone to replace his dribbling, someone to replace his kind of scoring ability, and someone to replace his talisman effect. I don't think you get a player who can replace all three of them traits. That's at least two players for me. And yes, Casey, 20% of the fee, I think of the profit fee, not the full fee, would go to QPR. So I think QPR are due about 8 million from this deal. So then that adds a bit more to it. We obviously would lose 8 mil out of this deal. Apparently, we're no longer holding out for the majority of his reported 68 mil release clause. What do you think about that? What do you think about that, Palace fans? Are you happy with that? Spurs have been linked to like every attacker this week. Semenyo and Buemo, Eze. I just think it's a bit of agent talk. I think they definitely want an attacker. They don't know who yet. But for me, I really don't think Eze suits Spurs and Thomas Frank at this current time. I really, really don't think he suits. And I will just dive into that at the moment. Just random comments on YouTube. You must have just missed it. I literally have just spoken about Juve and why I like him at the start of this video. Feel free to watch it back. But I would be happy if we sign that sort of player. Of course, I do not want to lose Adam Wharton if that were the case. Paul Hewitt, I don't think we should be selling anyone. I think it's not as easy as that, sadly, for a club like Crystal Palace. We sometimes do have to sell to buy. We do have to think about finances, which infuriates me. But I'll talk about that a little bit later when I talk about Marc Guehi. Some people don't believe the Eze update is as bad. And if you have just missed it, the Eze update is basically Spurs will apparently be happier because Palace are ready to accept 3 installments of 20 mil for Eze. But yeah, I was just about to dive into why I don't think Eze suits Spurs right now. Thomas Frank, if you compare Mikael Damsgaard to what Eze is in terms of what Brentford do and what Palace do, Mikael Damsgaard is a similar sort of player to Eze. So you think, yeah, you can see why Eze was wanted. However, Mikael Damsgaard is not just good at the attacking. He is a runner. He ran so much in the league last season, and he's very defensively aware. And you saw with Fabio Carvalho at Brentford last season, a great creative player. Thomas Frank always spoke about how great he is creatively. However, we barely saw Carvalho play, and that's because he didn't have the defensive aspects as much. You've got someone like Eze. You don't really want him to be focusing on that defending ability, but Thomas Frank wants that from his players. Also, they've got James Maddison and Kulusevski. They've got players who can play on the left, like Brennan Johnson as well. So for me, Spurs need that right-sided player so much more than they need a 10 like Eze. Maybe I'm being hopeful. Who knows? But I just don't think Eze suits Thomas Frank. I really, really don't. Right. Here's for everyone joining. Be sure to like the live on YouTube or TikTok, whichever one you are watching on. Let me answer some questions now. I'm getting the majority of comments from TikTok, so let's answer some questions from TikTok about transfer news or whatever. Tillman from PSV. Tillman would be a lovely signing, but there's no links. I haven't seen any links unless you have, Jake. Let me know. Yeah, Spurs fan there saying, to be honest, as a Spurs fan, I don't think we get Eze. I really just don't think you need him right now. I do think that would be, like, he's class and Spurs have wanted him for years, but, I just don't know if you need Eze right now. Opinions on Diomande. Right, I will dive into Guehi and Diomande and the stats. I will dive into them stats because they are beautiful. And I did a video back in January on a centre back I'd really like us to sign if we were going to sell Guehi. But at the time, it was someone I just wanted us to sign. So I will actually dive into that player as well. Just remember, guys, Diomande, Malik Diouf, they'd both be going to AFCON. So that is a really big issue for us. Jake, at the moment, the kit manufacturer, I think, is just Macron. I think we would know by now if it wasn't going to be Macron. It's too late to be changed. Well, obviously they would change, but I think it'd be too late to be doing them announcements and stuff. I think we're just delaying the kit news because of the Europa League stuff. And, you want to get that Europa League badge on the kit. So there's no point releasing the kit if, that's up in the air. Yeah, I heard rumours for Umbro. That was a weird one. I'm not too sure on them. Any links on Esteve? There's been a few. The Maxim Esteve from Burnley, we are interested. But I don't know. They've just lost a defender already to Marseille, so I don't know if they'd be able to let Esteve go. Wharton go. Right. People are asking about Diomande. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. This guy would be the biggest pull Palace have had in years, because when we've signed the Guehis, when we've signed the Ezes, when we've signed Elises, they haven't been at they haven't been so. They obviously been highly rated, but they haven't been so highly rated in terms of Diomande feels like he's already going to be at a elite level really soon. McAtee from Man City would be class. I don't know why them links have died. I'm so gutted about that. So yeah, Diomande, Guehi, LaCroix would be a ridiculous back three, and then you're thinking how harsh that is on Richards as well. Come out. What about the yellow guy from Juventus? Them links have really died. I feel like we had a free defender shortlist for possible Marc Guehi replacements. I feel like Diomande is the top one, but I still personally think we need another defender as well. So that'll be interesting. Right. So the latest from Romano was Crystal Palace are in talks with Sporting for Ousmane Diomande as a new centre-back. Negotiations are underway with the player open to the Premier League move. Oliver Glasner has also approved Diomande as a target. What I will tell you all right now is we would not be going for a player as good as Diomande for as high a price as he's going to be for us if we didn't think he was interested and if we didn't think personal terms were agreed. I think the personal terms are practically done by what I've heard. They want around 50 mil. So that is where we think is going to be the struggle. That's where it will take a bit of time. Palace have not spent 50 mil on a player, ever. So 50 mil is going to be a lot. Whether that's euros, it might come to down to like 45 mil to 50 mil when you include installments and stuff. But yeah, this is a big deal for a very good player. If we were to lose Marc Guehi, again, I will dive into that news very shortly. If we were to lose Marc Guehi, this would be different gravy in terms of a signing. It all seems like it's heading in the right direction, the signing. It really does. So we've just got to hope. We really do just got to hope. Right. So the reason I'm so excited about Diomande is just because of the sheer caliber of clubs over the years who have been interested in him. So many clubs have been interested in him. It is genuinely ridiculous. Like, all the big Premier League clubs have been interested in him. Big European clubs have been interested in him. And now the biggest club in the world, Crystal Palace, are interested in him as well. Here we go, guys. So as you can see, Diomande here. What he doesn't do as much as Marc Guehi is the progressive carrying. So that is slightly worrying, I guess you'd probably say. And I know here it shows his tackles and his interceptions aren't too big. But for me, the big one, aerial duels 2.78, 70%. Marc Guehi's down at about 50%. And we do know Marc Guehi is a smaller defender. So Diomande would be crucial at that. But pass completion really high. He's still managing nearly 3 progressive passes a match. He's still doing some successful take-ons, but we don't really need that for a 3 at the back defensive partnership. And again, if you look at the stats of Guehi and stuff, their tackles and interceptions are low. So it isn't the end of the world, this stuff, when you see it, but he is just such a good defender, and he's one who, you need to kind of look more at the eye test for him. So yeah, Diomande would be amazing. It looks like it's going in the right direction, but as we said, you can't have a negative positive without a sort of negative at Crystal Palace. However, the Guehi news, as you all know, I'm not going to talk about the Liverpool stuff as much. Liverpool are very keen on Marc Guehi. We all know that. They want to sign him. They've sold Konza. They want to sign him. And just before I get into any more, how the hell are some Liverpool fans saying they want to keep Konza over Marc Guehi? Oh, some Big Six fans genuinely cannot understand that some players can be world class before they join that big club, and Marc Guehi is one of them. Marc Guehi is hands down one of them. Right. So the latest on Marc Guehi is actually very interesting. I haven't even done a TikTok video on this yet, because it is very interesting. Right. Oscar, opinions on Benitez? I'm guessing you mean Walter Benitez. I mean, for a second goalkeeper, that is absolutely class if we get that over the line. He was consistently playing in the Champions League and in the Eredivisie last season. He won the Eredivisie title as well last season. So to get him in as a number 2 is really, really good. Dab for a Paul Popper edit. If it was a Palace player, maybe. Spurs fan, Mbeumo or Eze? If for Spurs, Spurs need Mbeumo. They don't need Eze as much as they need Mbeumo, but I think United are going to get Mbeumo. Anyways, back to the Palace news. Marc Guehi will not be rushed into a decision on his future, and he's prepared to see the final year of his contract out at Crystal Palace if the right move does not materialise this summer. Now, this has caused so much chatter, so much debate on Twitter. What's the right thing here? What should we do? Yeah, Luke Cooper. Don't forget we have a lot of money from the FA Cup win, including TV money and the Europa League money. Yeah, I just think that's not as big in terms of transfer selling, if you know what I mean. We will get so much more for transfers and we need that money. You know, I think we maybe broke even in terms of transfers last season. So we're not like financially in trouble. You're just going to have to look down the line. You're going to need to sell a big asset. So this is why all the Guehi stuff, the Eze stuff's probably cropping up. Oscar, I do get you that there, but Man United still have a pull. Man United somehow still have a pull. Right. So yeah, Marc Guehi is going to possibly see out the final year of this contract. Now, Crystal Palace knew that they took a massive risk last summer when they didn't expect 65, 70 mil for Marc Guehi. S. Fowler, what are the rumours? So the rumours I've gone through today, Wharton, there's interest in Wharton. I don't know how big the interest is. We want Andy Diouf if Wharton was to leave. And earlier in the video, I did speak about, how good Diouf is and why he's a perfect Wharton replacement. If you're on TikTok Lives and you want to go back to the start of my video, I'm on YouTube, Luke Talks Palace. Don't forget to subscribe anywhere. So yeah, I'm doing all that. And Eze, apparently we will be happy to do 3 installments for Eze for Spurs, which has got them a bit happy. I don't know how much I believe in that, but, is what it is. And yeah, now we're talking about Marc Guehi. So yeah, as I said, Marc Guehi will not be rushed into a decision on his future. He's prepared to see out the final years of his contract at Crystal Palace. Yes, as I said, this has caused a lot of debate. How much would you take for Guehi if we had to sell? See, now this is just, no one knows how much, because obviously last season we wanted like 70 mil. So for me, I think like a 50 mil would be nice if we could get that. But as I was going to dive into, we took a massive risk last summer. We did. We took a massive risk last summer. We knew that if we weren't going to sell Marc Guehi last summer, then the likelihood could be that he would run down his contract, and like Zaha, we'd lose another player on a big player on a free transfer. However, you've got to weigh up the risk they took. If we would have sold Guehi last summer, do we win the FA Cup? I don't know. I know it's only one player, but I don't know. That it was a big decision to make. You can't lose Guehi and Anderson in one summer. So, would we have kept Anderson instead? Our defence wouldn't have been as good, So, the debate between a lot of Palace fans right now, we need to sell up. We need to sell up, We can't be letting these players go for free. This is where football's going wrong. We are football fans, first and foremost. We should be wanting to keep the world-class players at our club for as long as possible. We shouldn't be too focused on finances. And that's so easy to say with foresight or hindsight. I know, and I talk about finances myself, but it's getting worrying how deep football fans are talking about financial fees when I know it affects the club, but it doesn't affect us personally. Yes, down the line, we might not be able to spend an extra 20 mil if we lose Guehi on a free. But for me, keeping Marc Guehi last summer was amazing. It helped us win the FA Cup. It was huge. So, we just have to think about that. Theo, can you make a video showing your shirt collection? Yes, I can do that. I've actually been asked that a couple of times, so I will do that at some point. Probably the best time to do that over July when, the season hasn't started. And yeah, if you're on TikTok, I'm also live on YouTube as well. Don't forget to like the lives on both YouTube and TikTok, things you love to see. So, yeah, as I was talking about, this financial discussions and debates football fans have on Twitter now is kind of crazy. It's It's too much. We're going too much into it. You know, we shouldn't be arguing with our own fan base about why we need to sell the best defender to ever play for Crystal Palace. You just need to take a step back, enjoy that he's been here. And to be honest, if you were in Marc Guehi's position right now as well, 1 year left, what would you do? Would you go to Liverpool? Because that's where the strongest links are. And I know Palace fans, I know we will all say he will easily start over Konate. But you know, that is going to be a battle he's going to have to win when he gets to Liverpool. You know, Konate won the Premier League with Van Dijk. He was really good for Liverpool last season. He's a good defender. So Marc Guehi is going to have to compete for that centre-back spot with Konate during the season that there's a World Cup coming up. Just after Thomas Tuchel has basically said you need to be playing for me as well. You need to be consistently playing for your club. So Marc Guehi's got that in his head. You know, he wants to be playing and starting in that World Cup like he deserves, just like he proved at Euro 2024. So for Marc Guehi, it's a huge decision. Also, if he leaves on a free transfer next season, he gets huge wages. Huge wages. His agents get bigger bonuses, you know. Let's just compare it to Daichi Kamada, you know. Daichi Kamada's one of our highest paid players on 100k a week, simply because he was a free transfer. So we didn't have to pay that money, you know, on a fee. We could give more wages. Ralph on YouTube, if Mark wants to go, let him. I would say Oliver has a replacement in mind. Yeah, Ralph, I think the replacement is Diomande. I don't know if you missed earlier in the video. Feel free to go back, but I spoke about Diomande. He looks like the replacement. If not, I'm sure we have a short list. You know, Crystal Palace do prepare for replacements to go. I know it might take a bit of time for us to sign them replacements, but we do have lists. So yeah, Mark, for me, if I was Marc Guehi, you know, more clubs will be circling next summer, more big clubs across Europe, you know. He will be consistently playing for Palace, probably in the Europa League. I'm 80 to 90% confident we're going to be playing in the Europa League. And he's still the captain here, you know, he's still making history. And it just gives him another year of full starts where he will get into Thomas Tuchel's side if he plays consistently. But I think this is going to be one that kind of gets sorted in July. We'll know exactly what's going on. We'll know exactly what's going on with Marc Guehi in July. Feel like we need another 8 for rotation for Europe. Yeah, interesting. We got linked to Andy Juve today, Vinny. I spoke about him earlier in my video. If you want to go back on YouTube and watch that, feel free. But yeah, Marc Guehi to go would be so sad for me. For me, it'd be close to Wilfried Zaha levels of him leaving. Really would. I'd be so sad. J Bald Eagle, is that? I think Guehi will go and Eze will stay another year. Yeah, I could see that happening. I really could see that happening. But as I said, Crystal Palace have now lost the power in terms of the Guehi transfer. They're not going to force Marc Guehi out. You're not going to do that. It's just not how we roll. We're not going to go, there's this offer, you need to go. And Marc Guehi might want to stay another season. You know, you don't know who's been talking to him about on a free contract. You do not know. Connor Sparks, we need left wing back as a backup. Yeah, we have not been linked to a left wing back yet this summer, I don't think. It looks like Chilwell wants first team football consistently, so Chilwell won't be coming back. Yep, we have been linked to Juve for years, Andy Juve. Yeah, it's one that Nixon loves to bring up quite a lot. Oh, Luke thinks Eze is going and Mark is staying, and others think Mark is going and Eze is staying. Matters, it's not really about if he wants to step up in his career, he needs to move, because everyone knows the quality of Eze. He's an England international. He's won the FA Cup. He's in the Europa League. The only step up would obviously be the Champions League right now, because for me, Glasner's a better manager than Thomas Frank. He just is. Thoughts on new AOF Palace tops? You can see I'm wearing AOF here. If somehow anyone who's working for AOF is tuning in, please can we work together? So yeah, the AOF stuff looks absolutely amazing. It really does. Do I sing some Palace chants? Obviously not on here though. Total Football on YouTube has said anything about GP leaving. I heard United are interested. Yeah, United are going to be interested in like everyone. They just are. Whether they can do every deal, obviously they can't. They signed Cunha. They're going to sign Mbeumo. Can't see them getting Mateta as well. I actually like You can see why Cunha and Mbeumo wanted to leave their clubs. You know, now Palace have got the thing where we won the FA Cup and we're in Europe. Probably, I've not fully got that confirmed, but I'm hoping. Yeah, the white tees look absolutely ridiculous. That's sold out on the Palace site, so if you want to get it on AOF, go on their site because it's not sold out yet. Matters, yes, you are a big club. Got Spurs fan talking here. You are a big club, but like at the moment, the step up isn't as big. Like it just isn't. But then again, players like Cunha and Mbeumo are going to Man United, so sometimes the big clubs do just have that pull. Back to Mateta. That interest seems to have died. I can't see him going. They kind of want Ekatike now, and they'll be outpriced for Mateta. And it sounds like we're close to agreeing a contract with Mateta as well. So that's really big news as well. Do you think Palace should sell Rak-Sakyi? Yeah, I do. Now, the hindsight police are going to come out and say we should have sold Rak-Sakyi last season, of course. But I always thought it would have been nice to give him a chance, you know, see how he does on a loan in the Championship. Sadly, sometimes the loans we do are really bad, and we gave him to a manager who just does not care about the attacking side of football in Chris Wilder. And he was rotated, you know, he wasn't defensive enough. So now's the time to sell. We wouldn't have got Romain Esse if Glasner didn't have faith in Rak-Sakyi, let's be honest. So I think Rak-Sakyi will end up in the Championship permanently this summer. We do need that money as well. Window's going to be quiet at the moment. You know, at the end of the day, window's quiet, but we should have Walter Benitez signed, and we're kind of making moves with Diomande. Not worried. Got to remember, I think the Club World Cup makes people think we've got to kind of move now. It's only June the 22nd. End of the day, the window doesn't open until July the 1st. People do need breaks, and you just got to hope July the 1st, the first 2 weeks of that's when we kind of make our moves. If we haven't made a lot by then I'm going to think Palace are doing what they normally do and wait till deadline day, something that Glasner has specifically said he doesn't want, so that will worry me. I'm just going through comments on TikTok Live as well as YouTube. On YouTube, Luke Talks Palace for those on TikTok. I see Edward having a good season with us. I mean, Glasner back in like January or February said if he can't play for Leicester, then he can't play for Palace. So that will be interesting. I think, again, it's someone we need the money for. Jez, for me, I think the Championship loan hasn't helped his value, but if we could get 15 mil, that would be amazing. Ahamada, I've actually got a match-worn Ahamada shirt. I actually paid less than you pay for a football shirt these days for it, so I haven't lost money on it. But he went on loan. Another one, we need to sort out some of our loans sometimes, but he went on loan and he barely played in Ligue 1 for Rennes. He made about 2 appearances, so that's really worrying. So again, he's another one we're going to loan out probably or sell. Don't forget to like the live, guys. It really helps. It gets more Palace fans in here, gets more of a community in here, so it's things you love to see. Do you think the same 4 players, Eze, Wharton, Henderson, Guehi, pick for England for the World Cup? I can see that happening, but for some reason, Jake, Tuchel prefers Jordan Henderson, over Wharton, and that worries me. Cheers, BK. And if you are watching on YouTube, as you know, I'm also on TikTok, so that's why I'm also glancing off, but that's because it gets more Palace fans in here, so it's things you love to see. Well, can you imagine if Palace won the Europa League? Ridiculous. So just to kind of recap what I've gone through so far in this video. Eze, Palace apparently are happy to accept 3 installments of 20 mil. I spoke about why I don't like that. Palace are on red alert as clubs are interested in Wharton. We are also looking at Andy Diouf if Wharton goes. Diomande, personal terms look to be close. Fee hasn't been agreed, but we're not far apart. And Guehi is happy to run out his contract, and that's going to cause a lot of debate in the Palace fan base. But that's kind of all the latest transfer news at the moment. Also, we are close to signing Walter Benitez, the goalkeeper from PSV, which is such a good signing. Free transfer, would be our second goalie, despite him playing over 30 games in the Eredivisie for PSV, the title champions last season, as well as, I think, 11 Champions League appearances. So he's clearly a good goalkeeper, you know, especially for a second choice. If we get Diomande, I believe we can win Europa. Yes, that would generally be insane. I think, you know, we've got a Europa League winning manager in Glasner, And, someone was asking me about if I'm worried about the quiet transfer window. If we do moves late, I will be worried because Glasner's also only got a year left on his deal. We got to remember that. So this is such a crucial summer for so many reasons. This is a crucial summer because we need to convince Glasner that we want to make that next step consistently. We do, because Glasner is a top manager. Just Jack, I do not know if we are in Europe, but there has been a lot of fear-mongering from the media. I'm thinking of doing a video on TikTok. Basically, I've got so many bookmarks and saved posts from journalists, football fans, and if we should get Europe, I will be going in on that video. I tell you, that video will be coming out to rattle a lot. I'm as someone who's worked in football journalism, not to the level that others have. Someone who's worked in it. The article yesterday from The Guardian, was it Matt Hughes? Matt Hughes or someone? That was fear-mongering. It was nothing new. Nothing new. That was fear-mongering. Michael Keegan from Daily Mail. Yeah? He was fear-mongering and using this Palace Europa League situation to get himself engagement, to get himself clout. That was disgraceful. Yeah? I have been fuming at the way that we have been. Jean-Philippe Mateta, John, easy Premier League striker for an edit there. Easy. I have been absolutely fuming with the way that some journalists have been using the Palace Europa League situation to get clicks, to get views, to over-centralise the situation, to make it sound worse than it is, to fearmonger the Palace fan base. That has really frustrated me. Because at the end of the day, it hasn't been as much stress as they've been saying. UEFA are not trying to kick Palace out of Europe. They are happily working with Crystal Palace and wanting to make sure Crystal Palace get into Europe. That is really, really crucial for those Palace fans out there to hear. But yeah, ran over on that. Wes on YouTube. Sorry, I haven't been here this whole time, but how likely do you think we are to sign Diomande if we don't replace Guehi? Do you mean if Guehi stays, how likely it is we sign him? If that's the case, then I think it could be quite likely. We got Europa League. We're trying to push on. Chadi Riyad is injured. He had an ACL injury. He looked really promising, but we don't know how he's going to come back. And we play a free centre back at the back formation. So ideally, I would like 6 players who could play at centre back. That would be really nice to see. So yeah, it would be hopeful. Obviously, 40 mils though a lot. So then would we have to sell someone else? That's the discussion. We may have to look elsewhere. Maybe we could sign another defender. Defender that I really, really wanted us to get was Christian Mosquera. And if you are on YouTube, you probably have seen the video I did on him back in January. Under 21 Spanish player, plays for Valencia. Amazing left centre-back. He would be an ideal replacement for Marc Guehi. He's been linked to Real Madrid in the past. He's got really high potential. He's 21 years old. He's that perfect gap for Palace, where we'd be able to buy him, grow him as a better player, and then sell him on for future profit. So for me, if we can't get Diomande, I'd love to get Mosquera in. He would be cheaper than Diomande. So if we kept Guehi, I could see someone like Mosquera coming in, even though our links to him have died from like a year ago. Guehi, Diomande, Lacroix. Imagine that defense. Yeah, it'd be ridiculous. Brighton fans, respect to Brighton for not doing what Shameless Forest did. Yeah, to be fair, respect to the Brighton club for not complaining like Forest have, but the fans, Brighton fans, are trying on Twitter this summer to act like the FA Cup isn't big. It is so funny to see. I don't know if you've been seeing their posts, trying to say Palace had an easy run the FA Cup. Oh, Palace won an easy trophy. Oh, so funny. So funny. But I kind of recapped the transfer news a bit earlier, but I will do it again. Eze, Spurs are a bit hopeful because we are willing to do instalments for him. Marc Guehi is happy to run down his contract, but he is heavily linked to Liverpool. And, if he's promised consistent game time, I could easily see Marc Guehi going to Liverpool for about 50 mil. We want Andy Diouf. Football clubs are interested in Wharton, but I think that's no real news, even though it was an update. And Diomande, it looks like personal terms he's happy with. He wants to join the club. Glasner wants him. We just need to agree a fee. So, guys, that has been all for today. I will be doing more transfer videos on YouTube. Luke Talks Palace, longer form content for those on TikTok. If you're on YouTube as well, Sleepers Crystal Palace is my TikTok, so feel free to follow that as well. It's been a really fun live. I know it's been a bit all over the place in terms of comments. I wanted to try and do a YouTube and a TikTok live at the same time. Let me know what you thought of it. If you didn't enjoy it, please do let me know, YouTube fans, if you did not enjoy me doing kind of the TikTok live at the same time, because I want to bring you the content that you want. So yeah, let me know what content you want to see in the summer as well. For those on YouTube, I want to try and do maybe some more videos, vlog style videos as well, away day vlogs, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, be sure to subscribe if you're on YouTube, like, comment, like if you're on TikTok, follow me if you're on TikTok as well. This has been a great video. I've been Luke Talks Palace and Sleeper CPFC. I hope you'll have a good day. There's been so many transfer rumors. If you have missed any of it, feel free to watch back on YouTube, because it's all there. All 40 minutes are there. But yeah, that's been a good one, guys. Catch you later. Bye bye.